All right, welcome to episode 3 of Simple Life Philosophy. I don't know exactly what I'm doing here. Woo, I'm still here though. I'm still posting videos without any views. I'm not really holding myself accountable by any means because I did drink yesterday. I would like to be able to say that today I'm going to be sober, but I don't know. I think lately in August and especially this first week in September, it's Sunday, September 7th, that I've allowed myself way too many cheat days. And I think maybe it's just kind of starting a new job. Maybe it's just kind of the stressors of that and having to, and it's like, it's not even a stressful job, but just having to go to work and sacrifice that much time. It's just harder to be disciplined. Like, I feel like when you don't have a job, it's like there's less excuse, to be, to have the cheat days and such. Whereas when you have a job, and not only that, like, even when I found the job and, hadn't started yet, I kind of allowed myself to slip. It's just human nature for some reason. I'm battling. It's a battle. It's a struggle every day. To get better, and that's really what it comes down to. That's what life's about is battling every day to get better. And one thing that I've learned recently, and I'm trying to implement more proactively, is it's kind of visualization. And obviously, visualization is been well talked about, especially in the self help manifestation world. But I think what I got this from, I think it's Napoleon Hill, who I got this from, where he talked about, when you visualize, let's say you visualize at night, try to make a habit of visualizing at night. And, instead of just visualizing the future, visualize things that happen that day. Maybe it's just a conversation that you wish went better, and visualize that conversation and you saying what you wanted to say in a perfect way. Visualize, like, if it's something that you kind of felt a little ashamed of with how you handled a situation, or maybe you went to the gym and you wish you stayed longer. Visualize yourself actually staying longer and doing a few extra workouts and what those workouts would be. you know um, if it's maybe you went somewhere and you wish you approached a girl or approached a guy, visualize yourself going up and doing that. But I mean, use real examples. Don't just visualize some hypothetical in the future. Use a real example that happened that day and just kind of rewrite the story in your head. And I'm like, I don't know why, but that kind of did resonate with me. And so I kind of do want to share that. And it's something that I haven't really implemented either in my life. I've done it a few times, but I wonder if with consistency, with consistent visualization, um, with that visualization strategy, like what that could lead to long term. So, I'm going to try and implement that long term. Just a thought. I don't know. I really don't know where my life is headed. Obviously, this is not where I thought my life would be, but I'm making the best out of it. I really am trying to enjoy life and enjoy it how it comes. And I do feel like I'm a strange personality. I feel like I'm different every day. I feel like I look at things differently. Like, especially when I compare my weekend self to my weekday self. It's so funny, but um, I'm just so much more relaxed, man. My nervous system, and it's not, yeah, it's just so weird. I don't even have like a stressful job, but you do have to put on like a mask, right? Like when you go to work, there is a mask that is put on where I'm just a lot more censored, a lot more filtered, because I have to be a lot more tactful. Definitely when I have a loose tongue, or this happened a lot when I was younger and going out partying and drinking a lot, is, man, I would say what's on my mind, and man, would it a lot of times get me in trouble. I would just offend a lot of people. And then back then I really didn't care, but now as I get older, I'm a little bit more sensitive to that. I don't want to offend people, but I also think some people are, maybe you're too sensitive, like they're too easily offended, too easily triggered. They just walk around with a loaded gun all the time and are, just triggered so easily. And so I think there's that aspect of it too. But like I said, it's a yin and yang balance. Everything's a balance in life, and so you just have to kind of figure out what that balance means to you. You got to be your most authentic self, but unapologetically, but at the same time be sensitive to others. So it's a delicate balance because sometimes you don't want to feel guilty just because someone is so sensitive. Like you don't want to be feel guilty of who you are, what you stand for, what you believe in. Just because you offend someone that's like so easily offended and triggered. But at the same time, you want to have some perspective and understand where that person's coming from. Maybe they went through some a traumatic experience, or so they lost someone close to them. So it's just, I don't know, man. There's like so much to consider. And as far as our culture and society goes, I just think that we collectively can come up with a lot of just better ways to communicate with each other, and just not hide behind smoke and mirrors. I don't feel like there's a lot of truth out there. I think a lot of stuff is just smoke and mirrors, because if we really governed ourselves by truth, we would have changed and restructured our society so much in the last 50 years. Because I mean, just think about the amount of research tools and information that all of us have nowadays. I mean, like, if you are motivated, you can literally research and find out anything. That's why it's like COVID COVID-19, people were really kind of demonizing people for, oh, like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? Like, why do you, like, kind of shaming people for not believing the doctor's consensus, the medical consensus. It's like, well, because of research, you can kind of find a lot of examples where the medical or, government consensus was wrong and maybe manipulated and hidden, to manipulate the masses, and so and I think a lot of people were just panicked. I think with COVID, we were very lucky that, I mean, just think about if the death rate was just a couple percentage points higher. I mean, it would have been a catastrophe just because how contagious the virus was. But at the same time, like, when you looked and dove into the numbers, it's like, hey, this is not as dangerous for a lot of people. If you work out, if you stay active, if you eat healthy, if your vitamin D levels are at this level, if you're at this age, and your comorbidity rate, risks are really low. You know what I mean? It's just like, if you account for all these different factors, hey, this is a very low risk virus for you. You know, I think drinking played a huge role, for a lot of people suffering. I think that if you were drinking a lot, at least just from the anecdotal evidence that I have, between friends and family, those are the ones that really got sick. They were in contact with it, while inebriated, and their immune system was probably taking a hit, because of drinking, and drinking is a poison. And it's something that I kind of do want to eliminate. I really want to do the sober life. When I think about sober life, I'm thinking about, I can't believe it's been 8 minutes. That's crazy. When I think about sober life, I think about, no sugar, no drinking, no drugs, obviously, no gluten. As a man, like, being sober, no self pleasure, no, you know what I mean? No, yeah, no self pleasure, delay gratification as much as you can. If you can, just stay away from news and social media, too. And that's how I think about sobriety, is just managing your cheap dopamine intake. And I want to get there. I don't think today's going to be the day, but tomorrow might be the day to kind of start day one of that, journey. And yeah, I'll make that promise. Day one of sober Jason is going to is going to start tomorrow. So we'll see how that all goes. Whew. I'll leave it at that, man. I can't believe that was 9 minutes. I went really quick.